Good morning, everyone. Coach Paul here. This is, I think, our 5th or 6th session online. And I want to remind you that, as is true of all learning, you learn something new, and then you spiral back to something old, and then you learn something newer than the last thing, and you spiral back to the first new thing, and then back to the basics, and on you go. That is a principle of learning in every field, whether it's academic, artistic, or athletic. So we will, of course, be re-emphasizing our fundamentals today, as well as practicing some new stuff and some relatively new stuff. It's really important, if you can at all, to get a dummy. I have oriented now my camera. I've learned horizontal, so I think you can see this pillow I have taped to the wall. If you can rig anything like that for yourself, it's a really good idea. It makes a big difference. So we'll start with our squat jumps. 5. Go down and up, and down and up, and down and up. 4 and 5. And do some old school waist rotations. These don't do too much, except if you engage your core as you're doing it by tightening your abdominal muscles. It's something. Mr. Sebastian used to talk about when we were training the belt of steel. If you have a strong core here, you can move back and forth easily. If it's weak, it takes you less time or too much time to get back on guard. All right, stretch up above and roll your shoulders back and forward and in opposite directions and the other way. And let's do some isometrics where you push and resist, pull and resist, push and resist, forward and resist, and back and resist. And let's rotate wrists, fingers, get them all moving. Make big sweeping motions with your on guard front arm, and bring those motions down to a smaller area. So in the end, it's just your fingers. And let's get on guard. Check our stance. Torso upright, shoulders over hips, front knee over ankle, rear knee over toe. That's the on guard position, very relaxed. The same way you'd be relaxed if you were reaching for your PS2 controller or for a glass of water. So you're on guard, and we'll lunge and stretch. Again, keeping your front knee over your front heel. You don't want to go too far that way. Push down your rear hip, stretch that, and reverse. And reverse again. A little further down this time, lower your body, move your rear foot back, keeping your form. And then reverse that. Go a little lower and stretch. And reverse again. Go down to the runner stance, front shoulder next to front knee. And go down as low as you can. Feel it stretch your hamstring at the back of your thigh. And reverse it. Rear shoulder next to rear knee. And keeping your feet about a yard apart, a little less. Stretch down. Feel the pull again in the backs of your thighs and the hamstring muscle. By the way, a hamstring is called that because if you look in a butcher shop, for example, with a certain cut of ham, it's sort of shaped like this. And that's kind of the way your hamstring muscle is shaped. That's why it's called that. And if we're talking about language, if someone is hamstrung, it means they are crippled, so to speak. So as if you have damaged their hamstring, they can't move properly. So if you are in a situation where you are hamstrung, maybe not literally, it means that you are impaired in some way and can't function properly. So the other two stretches we can do, arms out, and we'll stretch by pulling back and stretching the front part of your thigh, the quadricep, and the other one. I think if you're like me and most people, one side is easier to balance than the other. And I think since you can see me now, you can also do our floor knee stretch. Where you stand on your knees, your rear end is on your heels, and you stretch back and look up and push down with your knees. so it stretches the quadricep, and then alternate slowly raising and lowering those knees. Good. Really crucial that you have a dummy or a target that you can use if at all possible. I realize it may not be possible, but if you can rig it, hopefully you can make that happen. I think because I rotated the camera horizontally, you can now see this target. It's just a pillow that I attached to a pillar in my basement. So you'll take your foil, right now just advance and retreat, keeping yourself very loose. You can watch me as you're doing this. When you're working with your dummy, obviously you have to listen to the oral commands. You can't watch me and the dummy at the same time. Ready? Advance, advance, retreat, retreat. Nice and controlled, small, very loose, everything loose, fingers loose, all of it. Advance, advance, retreat, retreat, retreat. Advance, advance, retreat, retreat, retreat. Double advance, double retreat, triple advance, 1, 2, 3, triple retreat, 1, 2, 3, 2 advances, 2 retreats, 1, 2, 1, 2. Notice that I'm always level, I'm not doing any of this stuff. That's a tactic you might do when you're in the advanced stages, but not for now. Okay, so from the extension distance, we're just going to extend and hit. Make sure it's a nice solid hit, lots of explosion on the hit. You'll notice that my hand is a little higher than my shoulder. My point is lower than my hand. That's the ideal, that's the textbook. Obviously, not every touch is like that. Face your target and do 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take a step back. This next exercise is advance and hit. It's not something you really do much in a bout, but it does make you aware of the timing where you want your point landing before this rear foot finishes. And actually, as your front foot lands, just as in a lunge. So it's an advance extension. Face your target. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I realize as I'm doing this, I myself am not terribly low on my legs. I've gotten a little lazy, so I'm going to make sure I change that and get down on my legs for the next exercise. This is the lunge. Remember, you're extending about 3/4 and you're kicking this foot out, hitting the target before your front foot lands. Ideally, you're like this, of course, in a textbook, but in real life, you may lean some. Just don't lean too much. And when I recover nice and low by bending my rear leg. I'm in a 4-foot ceiling room. So 3/4 extension, kick and lunge and recover. This kick, again, is if you're slipping on an oil slick. Your hand comes out and your toe comes up. And at a certain point, they're virtually both straight, though the arm may be continuing as the toe goes. But if you think of it, some ways it's like this. In fact, if you lean back on your rear leg for a moment and do just that, extend and kick up by flexing your calf muscle. My toe is almost pointing backwards at me. It's just the opposite of a ballet stance where you would point with your toe flexes up. Obviously, of course, as I always say, you aren't going to be that high when you lunge. You just want it barely off the ground. So face your target. If you have no target, you'll have to hit the air molecules. Again, ideally, you're going to hit the target before your front foot lands, or at the very latest at the same time. Extending and lunge, recover, that's 1. Extending and lunge, recover, that's 2. Extending, lunge, 3. Extend and lunge, 4. Extending and lunge, 5. Extending and lunge, 6. Extending and lunge, 7. Extending and lunge, 8. Extending and lunge, nice and low, 9. Extending and lunge, and 10, and relax. Let's remember that it's really important to have nice, firm fingers, but not tight fingers. Something very loose. So hold your foil with your first 2 fingers and your thumb. Let your ring finger hang out here if it needs to, but not much. And of course, your pinky never grips. It's not prehensile. It's not involved. So take your foil and your nice loose fingers and make some motions in the air, the infinity sign, and then reverse the direction. And circles and loop-de-loops. 1, 2s, nice and big. And then sort of gradually, without getting tight, make these motions smaller. They're very refined, just your fingers. As we know, the motions get small as you go to the point. This is a big motion and slow. This one's a little bit faster, a little bit smaller, a little bit faster, a little smaller. And right here with the fingers, very fast and small. So the tip itself is, of course, super fast. There is a video out there of Mariel Zagunis, the Olympic saber champion, 2 or 3 times. And she's standing in front of a car and they say go, and it's to show how fast a lunge is. So she actually finishes her lunge before the car even starts moving. It's just a sort of a gimmick to watch how fast the lunge can be. All right, back to the on guard. And we're going to do an advanced lunge. Again, this is slow, fast. Remember, slow to the normal position, then acceleration as you go. As you advance, your arms coming forward. And then you recover. We'll do 10 of those. Face your target. Ready? Go. Slow, fast. Recover, retreat. Slow, fast. Recover, retreat. Nice and low. Slow, fast. Recover, retreat. Slow, fast. Recover, retreat. Slow, fast. Recover, retreat. Remember, my arm's extending, but it's not fully extended until the end. 5 more. Go. Slow, fast. Recover, retreat. Slow, fast. Recover, retreat. Slow, fast. Recover, retreat. Slow, fast. Recover, retreat. Slow, fast. Recover, retreat, and rest. We're going to combine the next advanced lunge with a movement of the blade. It's going to be an advance with 1 disengage and a 2nd disengage as you lunge. So it's a 1-2. I talked last week about the advanced feint. In this particular drill, the 1 comes about here. You're hiding your blade. I don't know where your blade's going to go. And 2. So it's a 1-2, kind of a neutral zone or a gray area. Doesn't have to come up here. That's the classical style and works, but also this works more deceptive. So it's going to be 1 disengage to feint and a 2nd disengage with an extension to end. The first disengage needs to penetrate the space around your opponent so she feels threatened. So 1 disengage has to have some extension to establish right of way, and a 2nd disengage to finish. Notice nice and high. 10 of those with an advanced lunge accelerating. Ready? Advanced disengage and 2nd disengage and lunge. Face your target again. Advanced disengage, 2nd disengage, and lunge. Advanced disengage, 2nd disengage. I'm going to call it 1-2 now. Advance 1-2. See if you can hit the same spot in your target every time. Advance 1-2. Advance 1-2. Advance 1 disengage, lunge, 2nd disengage. Advance 1-2. Advance 1-2. Advance 1-2. 2 more. Advance 1-2. Advance 1-2. That may have been 9, not 10, not sure. We'll finish up the footwork section with balestras. Again, balestra is a jump lunge. You are grabbing with your claws to dig in on the jump so you can instantly launch yourself into the attack. An advanced lunge, and we only did the one kind today, is a change of tempo. As we know, a balestra is really just meant to cover the extra short distance you need, and it's explosive. There is no change of tempo. So it looks like this, of course. If you listen carefully, you can hear my foot stamp and my extension hit the target instantly thereafter. I'm not sure if you can hear that. So, face your target. You're going to do a jump lunge, a balestra. Ready? Go. Back, recover. 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 Two more. Go. Back, recover. And last one, go. Back and recover. I'm just going to check the video to make sure it's still going. Okay, I'm going to stop this video and we'll resume in the next segment.